Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Now, have I got a little surprise for you? I am going to show you how to make this beautiful, beautiful blanket. I'm going to show you how to do this beautiful crocodile or scale stitch, and it's wonderful, it really is. Scale stitch or crocodile stitch. I'm using this Red Heart Super Saver. This is my last ball of Red Heart. So I'm going to make my slip knot. You make your slip knot whatever way that you normally make it, and I'm going to do a chain. So for my little sample that I'm going to do, I'm going to chain, I'll do about 36. As long as you do your chain in sets of 6, and then we'll add 3 stitches. The 3 stitches that we add will become our first treble crochet, just to keep the count correct. So we're going to yarn over and pull through, and we're going to do a chain. Just keep putting your yarn over and pulling it through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each set of 6 should give you 2 of the sections you need in your foundation chain. I'll bring my pink one in. This is what your foundation chain is going to look like. It's going to have these little V sections on it. Each set of 6 stitches will give you 2 V's. So I'll just explain that a little bit more. So I've got 2. I'll do my chain. You do your chain the length that you want in sets of 6 stitches, and then we'll add 3 more. So I've got 36 stitches on for my sample that I'm going to do. I'm going to add another 3. 1, 2, 3. Now that 3 becomes one of your first treble crochets. What we're going to do is into the 4th stitch in the chain, don't count the loop on the hook. We're going to count 1, 2, 3 and 4. You're going to go into that stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So you've made 2 stitches. That's going to be the end section of your foundation chain. We're going to be putting a crocodile stitch in around that area there. What you're going to do is chain 2, 1, 2. You're going to skip 2, 1, 2, and do a treble crochet into the next stitch, 1, and do another one into that same stitch, that's 2. You're going to do that all the way along to the end. Now you need an odd number. Remember that you need an odd number, because what we're going to do is we're going to, when we get to the end, we're going to crocodile stitch one section, miss a section, crocodile stitch a next section. So when you've done this, make sure you've got an odd number of these clusters. So chain 2, 1, 2, skip 2, and put 2 treble crochets into the same stitch. Chain 2, 1, 2, skip 2, and 2 treble crochets into the same stitch. So when someone says you need 6 stitches for a pattern, what we've done here is you've got your skip 2, you've put 2 into that 1, that makes 3, you've skipped another 2 and put 2 into the next one. That's where you've used up your 6 stitches along here. You've used up your 6 stitches. So 6 stitches makes 2 of these sections. So I'll put another one into there. and you're going to do that all the way along to the end. So I've got my little sample. Now you should have an odd number of these sections. I've got 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and 13. So you need an odd number of these V clusters. This is the second row that you'll repeat every time you do your blanket. So you'll repeat this row every time once you've done a scale section. Sorry about sun coming in the window. Every time you've done a scale section, you'll do this row on here, and I'll show you how to do that. That's what the repeat is. That's what the back looks like. Absolutely beautiful, this blanket. So what I need to explain with this is a traditional crochet, you'll chain so many and then you'll turn your work and you'll work back that way. You're not going to do this with this stitch. With this stitch, we're going to work like this. We're going to work in these sections. We'll start with this section, we'll miss this section, we'll do this section, miss this one, do this one and miss this one. Now the most complicated thing about this stitch is how you hold it. You'll have to find a comfortable way to hold it, because we're going to work like this, up and down your ladder. It's like a little ladder, and we're going to work up and down the ladder. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put 5 treble crochets down this part of our ladder, and we'll turn it and we'll do 5 coming back up the way. We'll skip this section and we'll move to this section. We're going to put 5 treble crochets down this way and 5 up that way. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Now you're going to chain 3. This is your first treble crochet. So 1, 2, 3. That counts as your first treble crochet. We're going to put 4 more around this post. We're going to work around this section of our ladder. The easiest way for me to explain it is like a ladder. Yarn over and you're going to go around that post and finish your treble crochet. If you're in another country, this is a double crochet. So that's 1 around that post again, that's 2, another 1, that's 3, count the chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 more, and that's 5. I'm going to move that tail out of the way. Chain 1, remember to chain that 1. It's the chain 1 that gives you the point in your scale. The chain 1 makes it kind of pointed at the bottom. So as you can see, this is the way we're working. We're working down like this, and we're creating these scales that when it's turned the right way, it looks like this. It's really pretty. So we're going to chain 1. Now we're going to work up this side. Don't get confused and don't use that side. Keep them sort of split apart. We're going to come up this one. So turn your ladder that way. So all you're doing is you've worked along that post there. Turn it that way so the ladder's at the top of your hand. And this is the fiddly part. Put your yarn over, and you just might have to twist, put your finger under so you can see that post, and go under there and around. You can fold it over if you want. You're going to put 5 treble crochets around that post So that's 2. So I'll show you what it looks like. We've got it turned that way and we're working along that post. I've got 2, 3, 4 and 5. You can use any yarn that you like for this. Now chain 1. Now what you're going to do is you're going to skip that one. Don't do that one. Skip those 2 there. And we're going to work in this one. So turn the ladder so it's down this way. So that's you made one scale. You've made one scale. You're going to skip that one. Make sure you skip the one in between your scales. We're going to move to this next one. Put your yarn over and go under. Push that to the side. That one. So you've got your 2 posts. We're going to work down that one and turn it and come back up that one. So put your hook under the post, just push that scale you've already done down like that. So your ladder this time is down the front here. We're going to do 5 treble crochets. That's 1. Around that post, that's 2. 3, 4 and 5. Chain 1, remember that, chain 1, and turn your ladder around. So now your ladder is on this side, it's going down that side, and we're going to work our way up that post. So yarn over and put 5 treble crochets around this post. The hardest thing is holding it, finding a way to hold it. And look at that, you've made one scale and you've nearly made another one. That's 2, 3, 4 and 5, all around that same post. You've got to chain 1, get some more yarn. So we've did a chain 1. Just turn your ladder so it's facing this way again. It's down the front of your hand. We're going to skip those 2. We'll always be skipping a section. So it's make one scale, then skip a set, make one scale, skip this set, and we're going to move to this set. Just pull your hook over, yarn over. We're going down this one, put 5 around this post. A little bit fiddly again. You might help a lot better if you fold it, just scrunch it up. Don't be afraid to scrunch it up. That's 1. So around that post we're going to put another 4. That's 2. We're going to do 5 altogether. 3, 4 and 5. Chain 1 and turn your little ladder. Just turn it around, and we're going to work back up this side of that second little ladder around that post. 5 treble crochets. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. A chain 1 and we'll move to our next section. Skip that section out and move to this section here. So I've got to my last two. I'm going to skip this one and I'm going to work this one. So just going to pull it over and fold it so I've got that first one of that set of two there, and put my hook through and work around that post. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, my chain 1, and I'm going to work up this very last one. Now that's why you need an odd number of those sections. Make sure you've got an odd number of them so that you can start on a scale and finish on a scale. So yarn over, I've done my chain 1 and I'm going to put my last 5 treble crochets up the side of this post. That's 2, 3, 4 and 5, and that gives you your first line of scales. So you can do your chain as long as you want, is make it the length that you want and use sets of 6, but once you've done all your little sections, check them and make sure you've got an odd number of these on your line before you start, because you're going to crochet 1, miss 1, crochet 1, miss 1, crochet 1, miss 1. Even if you say that to yourself all the way along, you've got to end up with a crochet 1 on the end. So what you're going to do now is, into this space I'm going to slip stitch. So just put your hook through, pull your yarn through and slip through that stitch, and that's you got your little set of scales. What we're going to do is we're going to make another foundation row to work along. So we need to do this row again, and this will be your 2 repeats. You'll do this row first, then your scales, then another row like this, then work your scales along, and then do another row like that. So you're working that one row and then working it again to put the sunshine coming in there, to put your scales on. So we've slip stitch into that space. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Yarn over and put a treble crochet into that big space. So that gives you your first next section. That gives you your first section. Chain 2, 1, 2. Now in between here, the ones that we missed, this is the section we missed. Now what you're going to do is yarn over, keep that part there, you want to work around it and put your hook through the top of there. If you can see, there's a little line. Go just under the stitch, right through, make sure that one is there, pull through, do your treble crochet, yarn over and work through there again. Just go through in between those 2 scales and make your V-stitch. Chain 2, move to this one and into the hole in there you're going to do a V-stitch. So put 2 treble crochets or 2 double crochets if you're in another country. Chain 2 all the way along. So in between here, make sure you put 2 trebles in. If you leave it and you've only got 1, and if it's right in the position where you're going to put if it's right in the position where you're going to do one of your scale stitches, you're only going to have 1 post and you won't be able to complete it. and you'll need to rip it all out. Make sure you've got 2 in each one. So into the middle of these ones again, into the top of that stitch. I'll show you where we are on the back. So go through there into the top of that stitch, right through, and put 2 treble crochets. Make sure you put 2, then chain 2 and into the next scale, chain 2 and into the last one put 2 treble crochets. That's 1 and 2. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put one of the scale stitches in this section. We're going to miss that section, miss that one. All the ones that have got a scale already, we're going to miss those. We're going to work in these ones in between each scale. So you're going to just chain 1, just 1. Now we're going to work down this way. We're not turning it, we're keeping it to the front, and we're going to work on this one. So put your yarn over, leave that one, and we're going to work in between those 2 scales on these 2 posts in this V-stitch here. So just squish it in, and just separate those 2 stitches and put your 5 treble crochets around that post. Now it is a bit fiddly. Make sure that stitch doesn't get too slack. So around that post with your 5 treble crochet, 1 chain, and you'll come 5 up the other side. That's 2, that's 3, that's 4, and 5, and chain 1, now you're going to turn it and work up the other side. There's the other side of that set of 2. Yarn over, just squish it in so you can see where you're going, and put your 5 treble crochets or your 5 double crochets if you're in the USA or another country. 3, 4, and 5. Remember your chain 1, and we're turning it around again. So we're going to skip that one and move in between to the section in between. So skip that one and work that one. And what we'll be doing is working down that section of it and up that section. Skip that one, and we're going in between the scales. We're going to work this one, 5 treble crochets down that post, and turn it and put 5 coming up the way, and that's what gives you this scale shape like this. It's really pretty. You'll miss that one, work the one in between, miss that one, work that one, miss that one, work that one, till we get to the end, and I'll show you what to do when we get to the end one, because we won't be working the end one on this side or that side. We didn't work it, and as you can see what it's doing, it's putting your scale stitch, your next row, in between those ones like this. So this is where we are now. We're working along here. So as you can see, you've got your 2 here and then 1 in there, 2 there and 1 above it, two there, one above. It's staggering it, and that's what's going to give it this really pretty pattern like this. So this is what we have now. We've got the missed one that we missed here on the end, and I'm at my last one here that we haven't done. I've done my 5 treble crochets and I've done my chain one. So what we're going to do is, into this one here, we're just going to put a slip stitch. Into this last one, just slip stitch into the middle of that one. It's easier to do it from the back than it is from the front. And turn it back around. So what you're going to do is chain 3, 1, 2, 3. That's your first treble crochet. So in between these two on this one, put one more treble crochet. You're going to chain 2. We're going to do our next little ladder sequence. So into the middle of this one, put your 2 treble crochets. Now remember and do 2 treble crochets. Chain 2, and again into the middle. It's open up here at the top like this, but keep that chain 1 up there so that when you go through this stitch here, that it's going to lock that into place. It's going to hold that in place up there so you won't have a hole in your blanket. Another treble crochet in that space. Chain 2, 1, 2, and put 2 treble crochets in the middle of this scale. Chain 2, and we're going to put 2 treble crochets into the top, in through that hole there. That's the top of your stitch. I'll show you on that side. So you're going into the top of there, in through that hole. Put your 2 treble crochets. Chain 2 and 2 into the next scale. Now when you get to the last one, you've got this one here and you've got these 2. Just like you've been doing already, just go into the top and put 2 treble crochets into the top of those 2 trebles on that bottom row. Before you start doing your next row, check you have 2. Check you've got your 2 trebles and not a 1. Make sure you've got 2 in each section. So we're going to just repeat this bottom row here. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. That becomes your first treble crochet. Now around this one, put 4 more treble crochets. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now remember the chain made number 5. Chain 1 and turn. So we're going to turn it all again, and we're going to do our 5 treble crochets up this side. Just squish it in. By now you should be able to find a way just to hold it that's comfortable. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1. These make beautiful toppers for a pram. Now again we're going to move over. We've got one here, so we're going to skip that one and move in between. From now on you'll be putting your scales in between the ones on the row below, and this is what you're going to get. So we've done one here, we'll skip that one and work that one. So work in between these two, and then in between these two, and in between those two, and you will work the end one on this row. So every alternate row you'll have one where you're missing your last two stitches, and the next one it'll be worked like this. And that's how you continue your scale stitch, and do it as big as you want, you do it as wide as you want, as long as you're doing it with six stitches in your foundation chain. And make sure you've got an odd number of these sections. These V sections, make sure you start with an odd number in your blanket, or it won't work out properly. And pretty soon, I'll put that up there, you'll have this. Now this video is to show you how to do a ridge around your crochet blankets. Now I'm doing it around this crocodile stitch blanket, but you don't have to do it around a crocodile stitch blanket. This rib will go around any blanket that you've got. If you can manage to pick up stitches around your blanket, then you'll be able to do the rib stitch. I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to do this lovely border that you can use around any or most of your crochet or even your knitted blankets. So this is the inner square of my crocodile stitch blanket. I'm going to show you that beautiful, absolute beautiful pink yarn. This is a red heart neon. This is a pink neon from Red Heart, and I got this on Lovecrafts. So I've got my 5mm hook, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what's called a UK double crochet. If you're in the USA or another country, this might be a single crochet for you. Now I've got my blanket turned around to the back. The back's pretty as well, so I can show you where the chain spaces are, because from the front some of them are hidden behind the scales on the blanket. So I'm going into the chain space, I'm going to put 2 double crochet, one into this V stitch, the empty V stitch. I'm going to put 2 into this space here. Into my scale stitch at the back, I'm going to put 1 double crochet, and the same into this space. I'm going to put 2 in here, 1 in here, and 2 in the chain spaces. So it's 2 double crochets in each of your chain spaces, 1 inside the V and 1 in the middle of your scale stitch, all the way around the blanket. I'll get along to the corner and I'll show you where to go with it, with the edge. We don't want to use this scale edge of this last scale stitch. We want to use the one that's here on the inside of the blanket as we're going around. Once we've got that border of double crochet, we'll do the thick border on top of that. We need some foundation stitches, and that's what we're going to do. I'll show you as I go along. So I'm going to put my hook under the chain space. Now as you can see, all of this is all sort of joined together. So we're going into this first space. I'm just going to pull my yarn through. I'll just cross over the tail and hold on to it, and I've got my working yarn here. And I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2. So into that chain space again, I'm going to do a double crochet. If you're in the USA, this is called a single crochet. So I've got 2 in there. I'm going to put 1 in there and 2 in that space. I'm going to put 1 in the middle of my scale stitch. Just go right through, and then I've got my chain area again, and I'm going to put 2 on here. Into the V stitch I'm going to put 1. So into the next space I'm going to put 2 double crochets, 1 into the top of that scale stitch, and then the next chain part put 2 in there. So that's what I'm going to do all the way along the edge. We're going to put 2 double crochets into this side of the V stitch, and then 2 double crochets into here. I might need to put 3 in there. So that's what I mean by when you do your blanket, you might have to adjust it to fit how wide your stitch is. It won't necessarily be the same as mine. It might be slightly smaller, or it could even be slightly wider. So I think I'll try 3 in there, and I'll see what it looks like. If it's too many, I'll just put 2 in. So going around the corner, I've got my 2 in my loop, and I'm going to put another 2 in. I'm going to put another 2 double crochets. That's a UK double crochet. If you're in the USA, this is a single crochet. This is going to bring me around the corner here. So through that thick part of the stitch, not the top one, through this bottom one, make sure your blanket's at the back here, you're looking at it that way. Push your hook through and just pull through a stitch. Yarn over and through your 2 loops. Go along a little bit and do the same. Just pull your yarn through. You might have to twist it a little bit to get it past all those stitches, and pull through. And I'm going to put 1 more in, just in that corner. We'll see what it's like. 3 might be okay. I might have to put it down to 2. So on this V stitch, on this one, I'm going to put 2. That's 1 double crochet and 2. So on this one here, remember we're using this one. I'll get some yarn up. I'm going to see what it's like with 3. Put 1 in there, and this is going to hold my border. This is a foundation row for my border. So that looks okay, that looks fine. It doesn't look too wavy or anything, or too slack or too tight. So just use your eye yourself and see what it looks like. Now that light pink is really making that one lift up, isn't it? So onto the V stitch. We're not doing the outside one, we're doing the one that's on the inner. Put 2 in there. It's 1 just around that part there, and then down to the next stitch. Not the outside one, we're going with the one that's just a little bit further in. We're going with this one here. So just push your hook through and pull through a loop. It's 1, push your hook through, pull through a loop, and 1 near the edge. And then there's my V stitch. I'll put 2 around that V stitch. I'm going to do that all the way around the blanket. So when I get to the corner, on this last one here, I'm going to put 4. I'll put 4 stitches, and then I'll get to this chain space and I'll put 4 in there, and that should bring me around the corner. So I'm going to put 4 down that bar there and 4 round there, and then I'll go back to my chain space, doing my 2 and my 1 in between, just like we did for the top. I'll put 1 into the bottom of there, 2 into there, 1 into the V, all the way around, and then I'll do the same on the other side as I'm doing now. When I get to this corner, I'll put 4 double crochets on that last chain space, and up that one I'll put 4, and then I'll go back to doing my 2 and then my 3 on the crocodile stitch up the side. You can rewind the video if you get lost. Just rewind the video and watch it again and work along at the same time as me if you've got your blanket made. So I'm going to continue all around my blanket, and I'll come back and show you how to do that wide border. So I've got my hook, and I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to show you how to do that border. We're going to be using a UK double crochet. If you're in the USA or another country, that's a single crochet, and we're going to be doing a slip stitch down our edge. It's going to neaten up our edge as well. So I'll zoom in and I'll just explain what we're going to do. We're going to work down the side of the blanket first. Well, I'm going to work down the side of mine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 7 stitches. When I do my 7 stitches, I'm only going to be working 6 of them, and I'll explain that in a moment. So I'm going to chain 7 stitches. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now this is the side of my blanket. We're going to be slip stitching along here, and we're going to be working our border at the same time, up and down your chain. Now we're not going to go into the first chain, we're going into the loop of the second one. So that number 7 in the chain is going to make my little turning point, and that's why we're only going to have 6 stitches left. So I'll zoom in one more little bit so you can see this. So I'm only going to work through 1 loop in my chain. So skip that first stitch there and put your hook through just the 1 loop in the chain like this. Put your yarn over and pull through and do your double crochet. So that's 1. Go into the next one, into the next loop, just the 1 loop. That's 2. The next one is 3. The next one is 4. The next one's 5. And we should have 1 more to do 6. So we've got 1 more. Now the other one is attached to the blanket. So that's me got 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So down the side of the blanket, we're on the side of the blanket, and in that first stitch, this is going to neaten up all of this area where we have sort of some of the stitches are a little looser because we did a foundation row. We're going to go into the next stitch, this one here, and we're going to do a slip stitch. Just pull your yarn through and pull it through that back loop, and do the same to the next stitch. We're going to do a slip stitch again. Just pull your yarn through and slip stitch through there. That's going to start taking us down the side of the blanket. Now the little tail end that we have, we're going to be flipping it back and forward. Flip it to the left and then we'll flip it to the right. Flip it this way and that way. We're not going to be turning the blanket around this way and around that way. The easiest way, your border will be running up the side like this, but to work it, the easiest thing to do is just to flip it over from there to there. So we've done our 2 slip stitches. I'm going to flip my little border over to this side. The easiest way to keep your stitch count right is to work from here. You can make a bigger border if you want. If you chain 8, you'll have 7 stitches to work. If you chain 10, you'll have 9 stitches to work, because that one stitch that off your very first chain becomes the side, so that you've got your edge here. What we're going to do is we're going to count 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And we're going into the back loop. That's your stitches, and we're going to be using these back loops. Always these back loops, no matter which way you're going, these back loops. Because we've got 2 slip stitches in here, the easiest way to keep your border count right is count from this end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Put your hook through the back loop. So that's the V part of the top of your stitches. We're going through the back loop. That's the back loop here. And this is what's going to make your rib stitch if you keep going through those back loops. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Check it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'll be doing this a lot. Got to make sure that you keep your border count right, because the other stitches that are in here are your slip stitches, and we don't want to work those slip stitches. So through the back loop, and pull your yarn through and do your double crochet through the back loop of the next one. So that's 2. Through the back loop, that's 3. Through the back loop, so we're only picking up 1 loop, that's 4, and then 5, and my last one, oops, is number 6. Make sure you get that back loop. Chain 1 and flip your work over. Don't turn it or anything, just flip it back that way. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into the back loop again of your next row. So the back loop, you may just have to pull that one down a little bit. So into the back loop, oops, into the back loop, pull your yarn through. So that's 1, into the back loop, that's 2. It's a little bit fiddly until you get used to it. That's 3, that's 4, 5 and 6. So don't go anywhere near those. Don't go anywhere near those. So the next stitch is one that hasn't been worked. You're going to slip stitch, pull your yarn through and slip through that stitch. That's 1 and 2. So again, we're just going to flip it over to the left. Count 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Put your hook through the back loop. We're going into these back loops. Find my working yarn, pull my stitch through and do my double crochet. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and that gives you a nice rib stitch. You can see that forming. Chain 1 and turn, and again we're going to do our 6 stitches. So you need to twist this one around to get into that first one there. That's 1, 2, 3, make sure you're using the back loop, 4, 5 and 6. And the ones that we've got sitting there are our slip stitches. We don't want them. So we're going into the next stitch, and that's the next empty stitch. You can see that that one's been used. So we're going into these two here. So we're going to do our slip stitch to move down the side of our blanket. Slip stitch through the next one, push your hook through, pull your yarn through and slip stitch through that one. Now flip your border over, just flip it over and count 6 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Make sure you go in through the back loop, the loops that are at the top here. It's called a back loop stitch, but it's the one, you've got your V there and it's the one on the top. Pull your yarn through, just twist my blanket a little bit and pull through. Go through your back loop. That's your second one, it's your third one, it's your fourth one, that's 5 and 6. So it doesn't matter how many that you do your chain. Like I said already, even if you were to do 20 chain, you would only have 19 stitches to work, because that on your very first chain, that last stitch makes up this part here. So now we're chain 1 and just flip it back that way. Give it a little twist so you can get into your back loop of your first stitch here, through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and catch that last one down in there. Your last one might be hiding right down in there. And don't miss it, don't skip to this little naughty one. Your little stitches in here. So that one's been worked, so we're going into this next stitch here and slip stitch through the next one and slip stitch. Flip over, count 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And through the back loop, pull my stitch up. So that's 1. Now I want my corner to go around in a fan shape. I don't want it square. I want it to go round at the bottom. I'm keeping it square at the top. So what we're going to do to make it round on the bottom, and this is what my rib border looks like, and this is the back. It's nice, it's quite neat at the back, it's nice and neat. You won't see the back of it anyway, because this is the front of the blanket. Now all that will flatten down, don't worry, it'll flatten down once I stop messing around with it. So I've got right down to my corner here. Now what I'm going to do, I've still got my 6 stitches. So what I'm going to do, I've still got my 6 stitches. Now into the very bottom of this row, not the row I've just finished, this row down in here, I'm going to slip stitch. And what it's going to do is, it's going to keep it tight in the corner, but then hopefully it should fan around here. So I'm going to slip into that corner, and then I'm just going to flip my border over the way you've been doing it. I'm not going into my first stitch. Count 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So that's where I'm going. I'm going to go up to my 5th, so I'm skipping that number 6 stitch and just going into that 5th one, and we'll do that just around the corner to get us around the corner into the back loop with my double crochet. That's a single crochet if you're in the USA. Oh, that's why. Wondered why my yarn was a little tight there. So up to the end, chain 1, and then just flip it back. And as you can see, it's turning it into like a little fan shape. So I'm going to do 5 stitches down, not 6, we're just doing 5 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there should be a 5th one. There it's there, and through that 5th one. Pull it round. And into that same stitch, I'm going to do my slip stitch. So that's twice we went into that same stitch. Then just flip it over again, just push it over to this side. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 stitches. And I'm going into that back loop. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1 and flip it back. So as you can see, my corner is starting to fan round. I'm going into the next stitch when I get down to the bottom. So I'm going to do 5 down. And if you need to see how to do that again, then just rewind the video. We've gone in to that slip stitch at the bottom of this one. So we went in there another twice, that same stitch, to make it fan. That's 2, 3, 4, and that one is hidden right away in there. That number 5's hiding down in there, it's pushed itself down, so just pull that stitch out. And please don't be tempted to just pick another stitch. Make sure that you dig that stitch out of there. It does tuck itself away in. So now I'm going into the next empty stitch. Just slip stitch through. Then we're going to flip it over. Just move it over that way. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In behind the stitch. In that back loop. 1, 2, 3, out, there we go, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1 and then just turn it back and work back down. So that's 5 stitches down. We'll go back to the 6th in a moment. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and catch that number 5. Make sure you catch all of the strands of that number 5. And then we're going to slip stitch into the next one. We'll see how it looks. And that's just getting around the corner. We're getting there. We'll go up and down, and that should be enough, and that should be us on the straight part once we've got our next rows done. So we're going to flip it over again, flip it over, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So don't do that tiny little one. That's your little slip stitch. You tighten that stitch up down here. Don't have your stitches too slack. But then don't worry about your loop. Your loop will go back into place. If you think you're stretching it too much, it will go back in. 3, 4, and our 5. You're going to chain 1 and then just let it go back the right way. See where we are now. So once we get back down here, that'll be us on the straight again. And we'll be doing our 6 again. We're only doing that 5 to get us around the corner. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and our 5th one. Just catch that 5th one. So once we're down in here, I'm going in to that slip stitch. Just slip into that stitch that's there. And that's us got right around that corner. Once we do the next ones, we'll be on the straight. I'm going to slip into the next one, slip stitch. So that's us done our 2 slip stitches. Just flip it back the way you've been flipping it back and forward to work. Now we need 6 stitches this time, so count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So we will be using just one of those little slip stitches and go into the back loop, and that's us back on to our 6 stitches. Let's tighten that up a little shade. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and our 6. We're going to chain 1, flip it back, and there we are. That's us right around the corner. And the reason I've only done 5 for these rows that are in here, if we did 6 it would be too bulky. I mean, it's quite bulky there, but if we did 6 all into that tiny corner, it would be too bulky. And once that leaf is there, or your little scale, look at that, that is so pretty going around that corner. So now we're going to work our way back down, just like you did on this side. We're going to work along the bottom. I'm going to do the corner the same way as this one. If you need reminding to do the corner, just rewind the video and do follow along. If you're doing your border, get your crochet hook and your yarn and just follow me around the corner. That'll help you. We're just working straight along the bottom, the same as we did for this. Slip stitching your 2, work your way up for your 6 stitches, work your way back down for your 6 stitches, slip stitch past 2, 1 and 2, work up, work down, slip stitch into 2, up and down all the way along, around your corner the same way we did. As soon as you're level with this, then you'll go into that stitch there twice, and then into that one twice, and get you just the same way we did there. I'm sure it was twice. Then we'll work away. I'm going to work my way up this side to the top. So if you saw from the beginning of the video the picture with the blanket finished, I'm going to make a wide top right along from here right across the top so that all my scales just sit inside this square, almost like a frame, this part. I'm going to do the top straight. Now you can do the top the same way you did the bottom corners and continue along. You can do that if you want. I'm going to show you how to do it straight if you want to just have straight squares, like a proper square without the rounded corners. I'm going to show you how to do that. Now I want mine's quite tall. So I'm going to chain up 11 chains. I'll zoom in a little bit. So I've got a little knot in my yarn, but hopefully that'll disappear inside this chain. I'm going to chain 11. So I'll have 10 stitches to work with. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and one more is 11. Now that one more will go up that way and I'll have 10 stitches to work with. So into the loop of the chain, I'm going to work down the chain. I'll slip stitch across and work up and down and up and down, just the same way we did for this border. I'll flip it back and forward as I'm going. So into the second stitch, I'm going to do my double crochet. All the way down, I'm going to put 1 double crochet, that's 2 stitches. I should have 10. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that knot's gone to the back. That's good. So that's given me this part. So I'm going to have a wide part like this, a border, but it'll run along the top. If you can see what I mean, I'll take my stitch out and I'll show you what I mean. So my border is going to run right along the top and it'll attach it to the top of these scales. This rib stitch makes a beautiful border. So down into this stitch here, I'm going to do a slip stitch, just slip stitch, and the next one slip stitch. We're going to just flip this over just like we did at the very beginning, and I'm going to count 10 stitches from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. This is to keep my stitch count. So into this top loop, this back loop here, I'm going to do my double crochet, just like we were doing for the rest of the border, and I should have 10 stitches. So this one's number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 into that back stitch. Now chain 1 and flip it over, just flip it over. So now I'm going to work all the way down. I'll do 2 slip stitches and work up and down, and this is going to make my wide border all the way along the top of the blanket. When I finished the rib stitch, what I did is I just went around the top, just in each section, this part, this section, Just work your way along evenly. Push your hook through the top of the stitches and just pull your yarn through and then slip stitch it through. Don't do it too tight, just go into the next area and pull through. Push your hook through, pull your yarn through and slip stitch. Push your hook through, pull your yarn through and slip stitch. And what that does is it gives you a really nice edge around your rib stitch border. It makes it really nice, so it goes from this sort of up and down the edge to this nice straight edge, and that will be my blanket finished. I'm going to do that slip stitch all the way around my blanket. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and zoom down, sort my camera, and I'm going to show you what my blanket looks like when it's finished. So this is my rib border all finished, and I've got my blanket finished as well. I put some lace trim around it, and this is what the really nice edge you get by doing that slip stitch all the way around your blanket edge. It's a really great idea to edge anything that you've got, even if it's just a plain blanket. If you put that little slip stitch all the way around, it really neatens up the edge of your crochet. So thank you very much for watching. Please click on the subscribe button, and also if you click on the bell icon, then YouTube will let you know when I post up a new tutorial. So until the next time, happy crafting, get ribbing around your blankets, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.